The purpose of this video is to share my attempts at trying to restore a Telechron 1H915 wall clock. My research says it's from about 1942, World War II era. I bought it at an estate sale. Was not intending to make a video about this, but as I was trying to research how to make some repairs, it was evident there was not much out there, so I figured that I would share what I'm trying to do. Now the video will be chopped up because I started work on it before I initiated this video, and I'm sure I'm going to be stopping and allowing paint to dry and glue to dry. The main obstacle I ran into was the bezel ring of this particular model is made out of a fiberboard. From what I understand, it was World War II rationing. They didn't allow them to use metal for the clocks, so they started using this fiberboard. But all around the bezel, it was chipped and broken pieces from years of abuse and neglect. And I researched mixing sawdust and glue, and that was the method that I attempted to use, or am attempting to use. And so here's what I've discovered so far, is that, let's roll this up. Depending on the nature of the sawdust that you have, this had more coarse pieces of sawdust in it, and it has a texture similar to OSB plywood. And that particular repair right there was done the day before yesterday and has been drying ever since, and it's pretty hard right now. Right there is an example of what I did today using pure sawdust, which is what you might find out of a Sanders collection bag. There'd be no large pieces in there. And this is the method I'm using, and we'll open this up right now. This is the place I did this morning. So it's had about 10 hours of dry time. I took a piece of aluminum, and so the video cut off on me as I was attempting to remove this. You saw the last frame you saw that was still in place with the tape adhered to the inside ring. And now, of course, you can see what it looks like with the backing plate gone. This is the more of a sawdust, which I like that texture better myself. And what I did, that was made with that type of sawdust, and the other places I showed you were made with more of a sawdust with more coarse particles in it. And of course I just used the Tight Bond original wood glue and just mixed it in that container, stirred it up until it became a paste, and smeared it in place. The tape just acts as a backing. These two small places were so small I just put some tape on them to act as a back, and that's that one right there. It was just a small gouge, and then we have one right here. Just another small gouge, which I'll sand down later. And we'll see how all of this turns out. So if you see this video, then it was successful, and at the end you'll see the finished clock, hopefully, with a nice paint job on it, looking good. Otherwise, you'll never see it. But anyway, once I make some more progress, I'll cut in another piece of video after this, and we'll go from there. All right, so this has been one day later. This is that last gouge that was seen in the previous segment of the video. We'll see how that does. Okay. Now let's see if it's like everything else. The glue is still moist on the back side. that was that last gouge that you could see in the previous segment. Still a little moist, but now with the tape gone, perhaps it'll dry a bit faster. I'm going to allow that to continue to dry, probably for the remainder of the day. And then I will attempt some sanding. So as an update, so far I've applied 2 full cans of the Kills primer to the mostly outside. You can still see some of the imperfections there. I don't have any plans on trying to get rid of all of that. I don't think it's really possible. But inside, you can still see some of the poor spots. I've re-drilled the holes for the clock face, and then also for the knob that sets it, and then on the opposite end a hole for the bracket, which will go down to the back of the clock face and attach it. What's next is I'm going to try this Rust-Oleum Auto Primer Filler Primer and see how it does on these blemishes here. And then we'll go from there. Well, this is 2 coats of that Rust-Oleum Filler Primer. It didn't do as well as I thought it might. There's nothing wrong with it. It really seemed to perform about the same as the Kills primer, to me, anyway. I was expecting it to perhaps have it go on a little bit heavier than what it did. Thinking more of a body filler spray for a car, perhaps. But I'm going to call that good. I'm going to sand this down, and then I'm going to go ahead and start putting the textured paint on it, which will be the final coating. So here it is now, after 2 coats of the Rust-Oleum hammered finish paint. But well, it looks pretty good to me. I mean, you still see all the little blemishes and whatnot, but hell, the thing's almost 80 years old anyway. And I have managed to preserve it. It feels pretty rigid now. I'm satisfied with it. I'm not going for perfection, cracking the pot kind of thing. So next I'll put it together and we'll see if it's going to run. Well, here it is, all assembled. I just finished soldering the wires onto the motor. Test ran it. It did run, but I'll make another video of it hanging on the wall. I had to fabricate that bracket right there. There was a picture on the internet of one in original condition, and it showed that bracket, and this one didn't have it, so that should take care of that. And I'll look at the front side. And so I'm going to hang it on the wall, plug it in, and we'll do a final video. Well, there it is on the wall, running. When I first plugged it in, it was running slow, and I thought I was going to have motor issues, but I left it alone, and after about 4 hours it kept speeding up, and now it's keeping time. So this is its new home.